Alright everyone, for this first meal we are doing the Italian chicken kebabs. I hadn't actually done this recipe until last week. Super tasty, super easy, quick and convenient. Does require quite a few ingredients as far as like little things you might not have at home. But overall the dish is awesome. So basically what's happening is we're making a marinade with vinegar and oil base. So it calls for 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I'm actually doubling those recipes, so I'll be using 4. If you don't know, 3 tablespoons is actually a 1/4 cup, but sometimes when you're in this in-between stage, it helps out to just do it as it is. So, getting my 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar together. You will need a whisk and a mixing bowl for this. And then the next piece are 2 teaspoons of salt. So I'm using a Himalayan pink salt. I get this stuff from Onnit. Absolutely delicious. So 2 teaspoons coming right up. Again, this would only be 1 teaspoon, but I'm doubling the recipe. So I know some of you are probably like, holy shit, that's a lot of salt. But no, it's really not. And then so we're going to throw in some red hot pepper for a little bit of spice. The red hot pepper is a whopping teaspoon of pepper. I do a rounded teaspoon because I like stuff spicy. Just going to drop that right on in there. And then the next piece is extra virgin olive oil. So we're going to be using 2 tablespoons. So if you're not familiar with cooking, this is almost like making what we would call a slurry. So it's going to come out to being a little bit more thick. And then we're going to start adding our dry ingredients, but first I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick mix, or a quick whisk, if you will. So the dry ingredients calls for fresh basil, oregano, and then some garlic. If I have better footage, I'll show you how this is coming out to be a bit thicker, but ideally what's happening with the vinegar and the oil is it should start thickening up, making almost like a salad dressing style consistency. So I got that going. The next piece is basically 2 tablespoons of basil, so I have fresh basil here from our basil plant. If you're not familiar with what we call the chiffonade style of cooking, you can take all these leaves and kind of layer them on top of themselves and then roll them out. It's almost going to look like a joint. And then you'll shave it and cut it from there. It'll make it much easier to keep everything super uniform and easy. Alright, so when I talk about rolling it, we're literally just going to roll it up into a little ball. I forgot my knife. Alright, so we're good to go. Get this out of the way. And guys, when you're cutting with a knife, you actually want to hold the blade of the knife, not just the handle. It gives you more control, precision. It just helps you mitigate the possibility that you're going to cut yourself. Once I go through, I just kind of come back through, toss it all around. If I see some pieces that are kind of straggling and still kind of long, I'll just do a couple of quick more chops. Move this along. The recipe does call for fresh oregano, but you know, it's February right now. It's kind of hard to want to spend money on fresh herbs because they're just dying within a day or two. You know, I have this basil plant and it's already like on its way out, and I've barely had it for a week. And, it's just dry and cold here in Colorado, so it's a bit hard to keep things alive. And we have a smaller living space. So that should be for my basil. Now the oregano calls for 2 tablespoons of oregano. If I would have thought this out, I would have done the oregano first before the oil because I got a bunch of oil in my deal. So I'm just going to kind of wing this part and add a nice pinch of oregano. If you cook as often as I do, you'll get a good idea of what about 2 tablespoons looks like. And again, on the herbs, you know, the nice thing is you can kind of play with these based on what you like your flavor profiles to be. I like things to be herb heavy, so I do that. Gotta grab some garlic. Anyways, the recipe calls for 2 cloves of garlic. We are doubling this, but I actually use 6 cloves of garlic. 1, garlic's delicious. 2, I just appreciate the health benefits of it being antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. But I mean, who doesn't like garlic? Everyone in this house loves garlic. We eat a lot of it. Normally I wouldn't recommend cooking on a counter that's high. It makes you kind of elevate your shoulders like what I'm doing here. When you're chopping stuff, you really actually want to use as much weight of your arm as you can and not actually get your shoulders into it, especially if you're doing a lot of cooking. Your arms are gonna get tired. But again, like I said, I'm just going through, chopping this garlic down. We're gonna throw this into the marinade, and then we're gonna chop up some chicken, and chicken's gonna marinate for 35 minutes, I believe, is what I got it set for. So we're actually gonna be baking this chicken at 350 for about 40 minutes. With that being said, I do already have the stove preheated, so all you gotta do is wait for the chicken to get done marinating, throw that sucker into the oven, and we're gonna be good to go. My next recipe we're gonna be making is a baked curry glazed chicken. So we're gonna have 2 dishes that are going in the oven at the same time. This saves a lot of time both for meal prep, but also for convenience. So when I go out and set up my plans, guys, I'm really trying to not just find recipes that are similar as far as ingredients and preparation go, but also cooking styles. So I don't want to have to like saute one dish, bake another dish, fry another dish, like, you know what I mean? Like you're bouncing between a bunch of different modalities of cooking. That starts making it get a little hard. Alright, so we got everything in this bowl. Let's just throw another whisk on there. So, as I finish up this marinade, keep in mind we're going to be cutting raw chicken. There's 2 theories of thought when you're cooking raw chicken. You should either cook it first and then do all your vegetable work, or do all your vegetable work and cook it last, or prep it last. The reason behind that is so that you reduce your risk of getting a cross-contamination, which is obviously everyone's fear when we're dealing with chicken. Salmonella poisoning is not any fun. But, you know, it's, everyone's got their preference. I like to get things like this. I like to have my chicken done first, go back through, wash everything, and be done with it. Some people I know like to do it the other way around, so kind of whatever floats your boat, I suppose. Anyhow, I'm going to pause the video here, pull the chicken over, and get going. Alright guys, I have 3 pounds of raw chicken here. The recipe calls for 1.5 pounds. Again, I'm doubling that, so 3 pounds. This is going to put me at eating right around 5 ounces of chicken. Katie right at like, probably more like 5.5 for me, about 4.5, 5 for Katie, and then about 4.5 for Sawyer at each one of our meals. So this is just the protein or chicken side of this dish. We're also going to be sauteing portobello mushrooms and zucchini together. Again, these are designed to be kabobs on skewers. We save the time and cost. I'm actually putting them onto a skewer. I mean, not really, the cost is pretty minuscule, but mostly it comes down to the time. We'd rather just saute the vegetables, toss them all together, and eat it in a bowl. So that's what we do. Anyways, because we are doing this rather than just baking the chicken breast, we're going to cut it down and cube the breast. So I have a plastic container, so this is actually what I'll be marinating the chicken in. You could also do a Ziploc bag, but obviously it can get a little more difficult like that. So I just cut the breast right down the middle, and then I'm going to just go down and start cutting chunks, almost as if I was going to do a skewer on them. Again, guys, if you're prepping the way I am, please, 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 please make sure you are washing your hands, your knife, your utensils, your working station area. You do not want to get salmonella poisoning. Shit is not fun. So again, going back to the marinade, I'm just going to drain all this right on top of my chicken, stir it up really nice, and it's going to be delicious. Guys, I really can't talk about how good this cookbook is. If you are uncomfortable in the kitchen, you're not creative, you don't know what to make, do yourself a favor and get the cookbook. So I'm just going to mix all the chicken around in this little thing. I'm going to cover it and throw it in the fridge, go wash my hands, wash my cleaning station, my dishes, and go ahead and get started on my next recipe. So things that are a little more like time intensive, like this one is, as far as like the head prep, I try to do these first so I can get started on some other things while it's cooking. Again, like I said, I'm making another chicken dish that's going to also get cooked at the same temperature in the oven. So what I strive to do is cook those at the same time for time efficiency purposes. And again, all I'm trying to do is just make sure all the chicken gets kind of evenly coated here. Everybody gets a little bit of flavor. It's all going to be delicious. You guys know how it goes. I'm sure you guys have done a marinade once or twice, and if you haven't, welcome to the game. Again, large like Ziploc bags really do work great for this. I'm out at the moment, so make them do with what you got.